lot of creative types, this is like an aside, can get into a trap where they just want to be creative for creative sake. I mean, that's not going to cut it in this business. You have to understand from a strategy standpoint why what needs to be said, and only when you really understand like campaign objectives and what needs to happen for someone to win can you really like capitalize or exploit that point at the highest creative degree. So, we can go through examples of that, but it's really imperative for creatives to understand messaging strategy. Not necessarily first, you can understand creative side first, but if you have the creative stuff and you ain't got the messaging stuff, you're going to hit a wall. And you also need political instincts. I mean, which kind of fits into this messaging thing I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
that's the trailer right there. That was a perfect little bite. Hi, I'm Garret Brubaker, and this is the Creative Caucus. On today's episode, I'm joined by Devin Gosnell, a political creative director and a filmmaker and the owner of Workers Productions. He has worked with some of the biggest gubernatorial, Senate, and congressional campaigns across the country. Today, we're going to talk about how political ads actually get made. We're going to dive into some of his favorite political ads. We're going to talk about the strategy and creative behind them and what it takes to truly break through in modern campaigns. We'll talk about the work, the process, and what actually goes into making these things. So let's get into it. All right, Devin, thanks for joining the Creative Caucus. We are here to just chat about political creative stuff, about your work, about how you make ads and your thought process and everything behind it.
Absolutely. And for those that are watching, my dog is demanding pets right now. So please, if I'm fidgeting around, I'm just handling my dog. But I'm excited to be here, man. It's really cool. I'm so glad you're doing this. I think it's a great idea. I think it's really
Yeah,
exciting.
it's fun. We should have some fun. Some people should listen and learn some things about how political creative ads work.
Yeah. Well, where do you want to start?
Okay, first question. So, where do you normally work out of? You work out of like your home office? My question is like, you see, I have a bunch of crap behind me. Do
Yeah.
you have anything that like you keep on your desk or around your office that like inspires you creatively?
That's a great question.
You got any like
Do
artwork
I?
or trinkets?
No, it's not it's more so this isn't my normal workspace right now. I live in Philadelphia, and I have a great little home office, but I'm on set on a kind of a long-term project in Brooklyn right now. So this is my short-term rental for that. And it makes it a little bit different not having all your stuff. Really, what I need to do my work is more about just having like a dedicated workspace that like just feels like home. It doesn't have to be perfectly clean, but I like it to be like the right kind of cluttered. It just needs to feel worn in and like warm. That's it. It just needs to feel like I live there. That's really the only thing I need.
Are you a coffee shop work guy? Like, do you go to coffee shops and do work?
No, actually, I have this horrible thing called misophonia. I don't know. I don't even know if we've talked about this. We talk, for those that are listening, Garrett and I work together a lot. We probably talk some days 2 hours, some days 20 minutes, but most days we're talking, and because we're just doing so much. But I have misophonia, which means a hatred of sound. So I have like a lot of trigger sounds that I can't be around. That like I have to like leave the environment because I just cannot tolerate certain sounds. It creates a fight or flight reaction in my brain. So usually I just flight and leave. So crowded workplaces and like really kind of being around people in general has like always been a challenge for me. Because I cannot, and I have ADHD, like I think so many people in our field, but I just can't be around someone who's like clicking away on their keyboard 5 feet from me. It's just not going to happen. I mean, even on set, someone chewing gum near me, I'm like, I'm so sorry. I got this horrible thing. Can you please not chew gum around me? And then I come off like this crazy director and I don't mean to. I just can't function with it around. It's kind of crazy. It sucks.
Yeah, that's interesting. Being you have that and being a creative director on set. Let's start from the beginning.
Okay. Starting from the beginning.
How did you get into politics? And I ask this as like a creative person. Like there are, lawyers and people that are into policy. Like the pipeline into politics seems pretty straightforward. But as somebody who like
Yeah.
makes creative things, how did you end up, working in politics?
I just had to. I don't know what it is. I just felt compelled. I mean, it's a compulsion of mine. I mean, I was a senior in high school when Barack Obama was elected president. I'm 34 now, and I just remember my junior year leading up to it. Just and we're the same age, right? That was at
Yeah, yeah. You're
high
you're
school
ol- you're
'09.
older than me. You're well, a year older than me.
A year older. So I was high school '09. So leading up to that election, it just my junior year, people started talking about Barack Obama, and I just was 17, 16 at the time, and it just kind of clicked, and I just couldn't stop watching CNN. I would go home after school or after wrestling practice or sports whatnot, and then just like watch CNN. Wouldn't do my homework. I just had to see what was going on, and then I went into poli sci. I just knew like, hey, I don't really understand this stuff, but like I just want to be a part of it. I want to make a difference in the world. I like what this man stands for, and I went into it. When I was a kid, I always wanted to be a director. When I was growing up, I loved movies. I liked making little home movies, like little fake Star Wars knockoffs and stuff like that growing up. And so, my two passions in life are art and politics. And like, really, I don't want to say the only job that combines those is what I do, but it certainly is one of the only jobs, and it's the job I wanted. So I got on campaigns. All this led to me getting eventually on campaigns. I went to college, you know, poli sci major, thought I'd go to law school. Didn't really have a direction. I got lucky and got my first job in Mayor Nutter's administration in Philadelphia, writing his daily briefing book. That led me to campaigns when his term winded down. Once I got on campaigns, started working on my first campaign, I met my first media consultant who was on a race, and I just thought it was the coolest thing in the world. I got on my first set, within a year of that, and I was like, this is what I want to do. And so that was 2016. And I just knew at that point that I wanted to get into media. I wanted to make political ads because I wanted to combine my two passions. It's really hard to get into. It's like it's kind of exclusive club, and you got to really grind your way into it. And so I like for years, no lie, told every single person I crossed paths with that was a media consultant for about 3 years. Hey, I want to be a media consultant. Can you give me a job? Can you please give me a job? Can you please give me a shot? And no one wants to hire someone without skills, without media skills or a network. So it was hard to get started, but I've finally got my first shot at this place called Counterpoint Messaging, led by John Rowley. And he needed someone for the cycle to kind of come on and this is how a lot of people get into the media business from campaigns. They work on campaigns, so they understand campaigns. And so I came on as a media strategist who, was kind of a campaign expert. I managed 13 different races across 3 or 4 states. I think the number's 3 states, over like a 5-year period. So I knew what I was doing and knew like messaging and strategy, and then just making that transition over. Was kind of smooth, but it was also kind of hard. You either got it or you don't on some level. And then from Counterpoint, I went to the Wind Company. A friend of mine, Tommy McDonald, who I've done a lot of races with as a manager, was the like kind of number one strategist on Fetterman. And so he asked me to come on and be the number two on Fetterman at the place called the Wind Company. I went to the Wind Company because Tommy McDonald, a good friend of mine, called me and said, "Hey, I'm number one on the Fetterman race. We've got Fetterman, and I need someone I can count on as a number two." And so he's like asked me to come be number two, come ride shotgun on the biggest Senate race in the country. And I was like, sure, I can't turn that down. Like it's Fetterman at the time was massive.
Mm.
And so I came up there to lead the writing team and kind of be the nexus between creative and strategy. Because those two things are always at odds in politics. You really can't say that enough. That's why understanding both is so important. Very few people do or take the time to, which is like the more frustrating point. I think a lot of creative types, this is like an aside, can get into a trap where they just want to be creative for creative sake. I mean, that's not going to cut it in this business. You have to understand from a strategy standpoint why what needs to be said, and only when you really understand like campaign objectives and what needs to happen for someone to win can you really like capitalize or exploit that point at the highest creative degree. So we can go through examples of that, but it's really imperative for creatives to understand messaging strategy. Not necessarily first. You can understand creative side first, but if you have the creative stuff and you ain't got the messaging stuff, you're going to hit a wall. And you also need political instincts. I mean, which kind of fits into this messaging thing I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
that's the trailer right there. That was a perfect little bite of info. I
There you
love
go.
that.
Yeah, so I did the Fetterman stuff, and I was the lead writer on that, and really rode the whole thing through. I was the main director on most of those ads, all 101 ads we made. I directed the most of them, and it was a lot of fun. I learned a lot. Like running a big Senate race like that is like a different type of experience. I mean, it's about as realistically big as it gets
Yeah,
because
that was a big one.
and John was so different and unique. And so, like, the creative opportunity and the messaging strategy opportunity there, even before and after his stroke, was always to like, how do we define different? This man is different. You can see it and you know it, but we need to define different as good. And so, everything we did define different as good, taking on Washington and fighting for the people. I mean, like those were our message cornerstones of like how we talked about the race and how we deflect anything, not deflect in a negative sense, but you got to stay on message. That's why I like the cornerstones of a message triangle, which those are the 3 points that we used on Fetterman. A message triangle keeps you on base. You are not advertising to a standing army. You are advertising to a moving parade.
What's the
Ogilvy
what's
said
the
that.
triangle?
The triangle of those 3 points were different is good, take on Washington, and fight for the
Fight for
people.
the people.
Fighting for the people. Yeah, yeah.
Those are your
But
three
the
main
wording of
points.
those have shifted a little bit. But yeah, those were the three main points. Like, who we're fighting for, who John is, and what we're going to do. I mean, like, you can break it down that simply too.
And you get a guy like Feynman who, he's bigger than life, unique, different than about. I mean, assuming he's different than most of the other politicians that you'd worked with before then.
Yeah.
And then, so like, how does that? What does that freedom give you as like a creative to be able to work with somebody like that?
Oh, it's awesome. I mean, it really that's the best part from that race is it's not even just who he is. The addition of like he totally trusted the creatives on the team, and like I can't talk about Fetterman without mentioning Matt McLaughlin, my dear friend and mentor. Like less mentor now, really like kind of co-working friend, but like at the time mentor and my boss on that race with Tommy. He represented the creative side, Tommy the messaging side, and I was always in the middle, like negotiating between the two. I learned a lot from Matt, and he took advantage of that opportunity in the best possible way of like how to think big and how to think unique, and taught me how to do that in the same vein. Watching Matt through the Fetterman stuff has been extremely helpful for me to learn how to do things differently. And this is a part of the creative side that I think matters. And I'm totally going to lose your question, but I think this is important. That well, I come at things, and I was taught by Matt in my early days of all this to come at things like a commercial advertising standpoint. The reason why people always say, wow, your stuff looks cinematic, or it just looks different, or it looks real nice, these are along the lines of a million creative decisions that I make in a project, or how many ever there are. I always choose the creative, more commercial style, which commercial in this sense can be somewhat intertwined with cinematic in the higher quality of doing something. I do not take shortcuts. I do not believe in shortcuts. Every ad gets colored, every ad gets mixed, unless it's just like some little social media thing that doesn't matter. But like every single piece of advertising gets treated like it's very important. We don't use cheap little cameras. We use high-end cameras because we believe in color science and full-size sensors. We use super fast glass and high-end cinematic glass. These things are important to add in because you have like 20 levers of creativity. If you are pushing up the volume on each lever, type of lens, type of camera, making sure you have a full G&E crew that has everything they need to be successful in that environment, making sure you have a prep day so the whole crew knows what they're doing before they get there, making sure you have a real director who understands things. If that's not you, because like the ego stuff messes up a lot of stuff in politics, making sure you have a real good post team, making sure you have good color, mix, dope editor who understands like yourself, motion graphics and like what easy ease is. I mean, like so missed in politics. If you don't have these things, you don't understand them, you're not going to get very far. But you can learn them. It's not hard. You just need someone to kind of show you the way. A lot of people in political advertising will just take those shortcuts because they're like, hey, it's a political ad. It doesn't matter. That's why when the Wind Company came around, which I did the Fetterman stuff with and worked there for 2 or 3 years, they were doing things differently. I think in the creative world, I think of different like timelines of creativity. And while this is not like canonized or real, I think of the work that in the early days that you have like round one, uh, like there's people even before like Doc Schweitzer and Neil Oxman at the campaign group. They go way back. I come out of the Philadelphia area, so like those people were legends. You have that kind of class of old school consultants, SKDK, GMMB, Saul Shore, these like real bigger than life folks. Them making ads forever and ever and ever. They weren't really focused on the creative. They were focused on messaging because messaging at that time, you just flipped a switch and turned it on. I'm I'm skipping over a few great people like Joe Slade White, who came in and focused on what's called the responsive chord, a book by Tony Schwartz. Tony Schwartz made the one of the most popular political ads of all time. Lyndon Johnson's dandelion ad, I believe is what it's called. So a nuclear bomb goes off in a field with a girl holding a dandelion.
Yep.
That and like who do you want in control of the country kind of message and like scares the shit out of fucking people. Like those folks came along and started adding in from the basic core messaging. Joe Slade White kind of introduces in emotional responsive chord messaging and like trying to appeal to your heart. And like he's, no one's exclusive in any of these clubs, but it's just kind of like the chronologically that I've put together. Then after that, at some point comes along Putnam.
Oh, Putnam.
Putnam.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
worked with them.
Putnam introduces what I think of as like high level commercial capabilities to advertising because none of these guys were really doing that. Like he kind of took advantage of commercial glass, commercial cameras, and then the big concept. I think of him as like the big concept guy. Everything's got to be big and make a point and like blow people away. And like that got a lot of people's attention. And so for like 10 years, people are just trying to copy Putnam. This is before I kind of came into the mix. And so how do you have these? What does a political ad look like? What I'm mapping out are like what people think political ads should look like based on who is dominating the media space at the time. So if he comes along and has this like kind of big concept stuff, introduces commercial stuff, like quality to political ads. What happened with the Win Company that was beautiful and special? It's kind of like this phase four of where things are. Is they introduced commercial taste and were not hung onto the idea that political ads had to look like political ads. They never made a concept ad in their life. They don't do stuff like that. I've always kind of thought of concept ads as a little hokey, frankly. They're a little corny. Not
Explain
to say that all
explain what
that
a
work is.
concept ad is.
A concept is a very broad term, and like I'm going to get murdered for some of this stuff. Like people will just like stab me in the back. But look, if that start like not stab me in the back, but it's like stab me over this stuff of like how I'm phrasing it, because there are no agreed upon concepts here. Nothing I'm saying is like the word of God. Everyone has their own opinion on this. But like a concept to me is just like a broad term of like building an ad around an idea that is very specific. Like, and that's the broadest way. So it's not like a normal, hey, we're going to have someone say lines to camera and put B-roll to it. That's not a concept ad. That's just a normal messaging
Yeah.
ad. A concept ad is like, hey, we're going to have, this is what Putnam became famous for, one of the many ads. Hey, we're going to build an ad around Jason Kander, um, uh, I think blindfolded, putting together
His rifle.
his
Yeah.
rifle. Like that's a concept because it's a big idea. And then they not they, but then you'll see other kind of concepts that have come off that I just think are like like lesser advertising I don't really like of just like hokey stuff. Um, like it's coming to mind, but just like I should have mapped all this
No,
out. Like
you're
if I
good.
knew in the
I mean,
I would have
it's
like
almost like Republicans have almost hijacked the concept ad to being like they have one concept in every one of their ad, and it's like bring out a gun and shoot stuff, right?
I wouldn't even so that is part that in the broadest sense that is a concept ad. Like that's a thing. I think that every ad needs to have a visual style anchor or just a style anchor of some point. That's my language and that's what I try to do. Another way of saying this is every ad needs something special. And every single one of my ads, 99%, I'm sure some fall through the cracks after 1,000 ads, but like almost every single one of my ads, I'm extremely intentional in finding one thing and protecting it with my life because that's what's going to make this thing interesting. That comes back to the core things of clear, credible, creative. On the creative side, what's going to help it break through? People got to see someone cooked here. Someone gave a shit,
Yeah.
And so like sometimes it's like doing an aggressive color treatment, like a really I don't know. We did something recently, Talarico, I did with Matt, where it's like he wanted these big red neon lights and he really wanted that to glow. And so in color, we made sure to protect that look. We didn't want to dial down the red at all. We really wanted red on people's faces and stuff like that. that is a visual style anchor that makes it really cool. And that, and like doing a oneer shot, like that ad also has a oneer. I do a lot of stuff with oneers on steady cams. Like that is a visual style anchor because you bring people into a scene. It's also just very extremely cinematic. You don't see a lot of steady cam work in political ads. Like you see it, but like 99% of political work is not on steady cam. It's usually just easy rig stuff.
Let's move on to you went to
Yeah.
SKDK, so you got hired on there as the political creative director. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm a creative director
Yeah.
overall, but yeah,
And
yeah,
so how many different you were there for about a year and a half, year and 8 months. And
yeah,
so
year and a
how many
half or so.
different, politicians did you work with there?
A million.
Yeah.
40 probably ish. Like SKDK is a behemoth.
Yeah.
They're kind of it. They are the establishment.
Hmm.
Especially now, I think the other big firms have really truly have slowed down,
Yeah.
and
I
like
mean,
the other
if
behemoths.
you think of most, big political ads, most of them tie back to SKDK somehow.
A lot of them, yeah.
What
It
so
was a true honor to work there. I do want to give that entire place a shout out. I mean, SKDK is a great place to work. The people that I'm just so like the people that work there are great people. That's the most balanced, like amazing, nice, like normal place you can work in politics. Like there really doesn't get a higher level of like professionalism and like calm and serenity at a political shop than SKDK. I can't speak highly enough of the people there. They were really good to me, and I really like my time there a lot.
so did you have a favorite candidate that you worked with there?
Josh Riley, by far. I love Josh Riley. He had what I'm pretty sure is the most expensive congressional race in the 24 cycle. I've heard someone else say one other one was, but like I just who knows what the truth is. Like it's in the New York City media market partially, and was hyper competitive. It was one of the only red to blue wins. I think there was two or three in the whole country last cycle. It was one of the only wins in the whole country. So Josh is like a super great dude. He is just so cool. He's sincere. He's got a great heart. He was open and warm to like having good ads. He ran a great campaign. His entire team was just like such great, nice people. They had good mojo and good vibes. Like everyone was like down for the cause and super supportive. You don't get that on most of your races. Most of your races are all like these like extremely tense,
Yeah.
hyper like sensitive things. You don't like it's like a third rail. You got to be careful what you do at all times. But like that campaign was so sweet. And Josh is a dope dude.
Yeah, and you don't have to name names. I don't want you to name names, but yeah, a lot of some candidates and stuff aren't as open and flexible as that kind of work.
I'd say like a bullet point for like basically life and creative advertising is you got to be courageous. Again, I've worked with a lot of people that are like this. Karen DeFilippi over at Versus, we just had a banger of a launch video. My favorite ever launch video went public yesterday. It's already at like 1.3 million
I saw
views.
that, and I do want to talk about that when we get there.
We'll get there. She believes in creative and will fight for it. Pia a lot of times would believe in creative and fight for it. My good friends over at Fight, Morse Katz, who I do most of my business with. I think like the Zohran stuff is like the most interesting thing I have to offer today. But that stuff, like he fights for it, and so like if you really want like a true good creative ad, what you really need is someone on the creative side, like who sits in like my area, teamed up with someone on the strategy side that's handling the clients, has the relationships, is trusted by the campaign and the candidate to like kind of come together. They need to jive really well. There needs to be a lot of trust. And like most of the trust is over here on the on this media strategy side, because they're really driving the train on like what gets through and what doesn't. So like you can have the best ideas in the world. If they don't believe in them, it's not going to go anywhere, even if they let you make them, which has happened to me a few times. And so, like, but when someone really believes in what you're doing and trusts you, even though they don't fully understand it, and that's the mark of a true great partner, they do not fully understand what you are saying
Yeah,
because it's not their job to, but they trust you enough to push it through. That's where fucking magic happens, man.
and
Like, that's
yeah,
what we need more of.
and that's my thing that I think is the biggest hurdle in political, ad making is the risk aversiveness.
Yeah.
Everybody's scared. Like you just said, everybody wants something to go viral, but nobody wants to make anything that is viral, right? It's like nobody wants to push the envelope, and sometimes you have to, and some of those things are
Or the viral concept is just corny.
yeah.
Like it's just corny. Like I don't write these things down because I just don't waste my time with it. But like they're like, we need to go big here. We need to do this big thing.
And
And then
over
they'll just
time, it
come
just
up with
slowly gets whittled down, whittled down, whittled down to something that's
political ads have become a parody unto themselves. And if you're not willing to understand that parody or acknowledge it exists and then try to improve it, you'll never get beyond it. Because you're living in a system of what a political ad should look like too entrenchedly to understand how to pop it out.
All right, technical issues. I'm switching to my backup webcam. If I look different. Okay, so you started Workers Production. That's your new company.
Mhm.
Your main client there was Zohran Mamdani.
Through Fight and Morris. I like to always credit the agency.
For sure. Yeah,
Not that you're not, but yeah.
there's levels to this stuff, right? Okay, so you guys did the one fun ad that I want to talk about that I think got the most press was the Bachelor ad.
Yeah.
Tell me like how did that come about?
There's actually a good background story on that that like runs two levels deep. So like I started Workers and we hit the ground running. I did 30 shoots in 3 months. I mean, it was wild. I was on the road every week for 3 months. And in the midst of that is these stuff. And um and I was on the road. My dog's going nuts back there. She loves bread and she wants bread. Um so where were we? So I was actually on my first Z shoot with Morris, and we're filming Things Can Change. It's a really beautiful ad. It was a really good one. And he's like, "Yo, I got an idea. I want to do this bachelor thing where he's going to hold a rose and give the rose to New York." And this was on a Tuesday. He's like, "Yeah, I'm going to do this." And I'm like, "Cool. Give me a script. Let's talk about it." And he comes back to me 30 minutes later. We're on set. All this is happening on set, bopping around New York in like a little van. It's kind of fun. And pop out at lunch and he goes, "Okay, yeah, I got Z reserved. You get 1 hour on Saturday." And this is Tuesday and Saturday, and it's like a highly conceptualized spot. And I'm like, damn, man, I ain't got time. Because after that, this kind of kicks off a crazy, like, you want to own your own company, you want to do this stuff. Well, this is what you got to be willing to do. I was in New York that day. That was a Tuesday. On Wednesday morning, I jump on a plane and fly to Texas to film Gina Hinojosa, the Democratic frontrunner for governor's launch video. We land in Austin on Wednesday. I film in Austin on Thursday all day. I get on a plane on Friday at Thursday night, and we fly to the border in Brownsville to film day two of her shoot with Morris and all this. Friday night, I get back on a plane from Brownsville, Texas, outside the border, of Mexico, fly to Dallas, and then catch the last flight to the New York metropolitan area that night, landing at 12:30 time Friday night. And I slept in the Newark, like one of the airport hotels for about 4 hours. I got to bed about 2 and woke up. I had to be on set at 7:30 in the morning in Brooklyn. We did the Z shoot for the Rose ad. It lasted 2 hours. I got back on a flight, flew to California that day. I was in New York for like 18 hours max, and flew to LA to go do a big shoot for actually it was my last SKDK shoot. And on top of all that, I already done like 10 shoots the week before and had like 10 shoots the next week. I mean, so you got to be willing to do all that, and it's fun, but it comes at a price. So the Z shoot story for that is he calls, he's like, "Hey, we got to get this together." I don't have a head of production at this point. I'm doing all this by myself. I got friends and freelancers, but like I don't have an employee yet. I have an employee now, Sophia Harvey. She's the best head of production, just the best. Um, so I called my friend Chris on the way to the airport, leaving uh, um, Brooklyn, going to Texas for the Gina Henios. She was like, "Chris, look, he does a lot of stuff with me. He's one of my homies." I was like, "Yo, like, I need your help here. I need you to kind of help lead on this stuff. Like, I can't hard direct all this. I've got too much on my plate." So I tapped him as the director, and then I had him run with the stuff and send me everything. I approved everything, creative director and all of it, help put it together, et cetera, et cetera. But I brought in help. And this is a key line here, everybody, is like, no one is like some genius sitting at the top of a mountain doing everything alone. It takes a team, and you've got to have a wide array of like creative contacts and friends that are willing to jump in the deep end with you at any given moment. Garret obviously is one of those people with me. Like, no one makes anything alone. So I came up with a stylized thing. I said, "Hey, I want it to be like look just like The Bachelor. I want it to be cool. I want it to be saturated, colorful pop. I need it to have like elation, glow, and vibe and feel. I want it on a oneer take. I'm gonna get a steady cam. We don't have the budget for the steady cam, but I'm gonna pull that out of my own money to make this happen because I want this to happen." That's what you got to do. Like, I made no money on that ad, and I don't care because like sometimes you get the opportunity to do something, you take it.
Especially when
without
the
money.
candidate is down for it. Like, was he just game to do it?
100% down for it. So I didn't have a script yet. So I had to come up with all this and give the creative direction and like hire the production team and create like a sub. Like I was still it's still a worker's production. It was my production, but hire a like Chris's production team to help me co-produce it, like sub white letter produce it because I just couldn't again like I didn't have the capacity to handle it. So I fly to Texas. I don't have a script, and then I'm sitting there with Morris on set on Thursday, and I'm like, bro, this ad is in 36 hours. Like we need a script. I need a script from you. Like, and so we're sitting there, we're banging it out, and we're just talking. He's like, it's in my head. I got it. And this is one of the brilliance of Morris is like he writes this perfect script. We had to trim it down about 10 words, and I always say that to him. Is I'm saying that with a smirk and a smile as an inside joke. But he gave me this perfect script in like 5 minutes. And I was like, great, this is perfect. I'm going to trim it, but great. And so I send that off. We get it done. I show up, approve all the stuff, make some adjustments, do my thing, kind of like in charge of the shoot. And then we ran for it, and it was awesome, and it was a home run hit. But like that, it just happened that quick. I mean, um, and Z was down, and he's the perfect person to be working with. Like Z's just like the best candidate because he gets it. Like he knows what he needs to be
Yeah.
doing and how to do it in an authentic way. It's not a bit, but he understands the bit to play authentically.
And they did
He's the real deal.
another one too. Didn't they do like a Survivor version of this kind of similar thing too?
Yeah, that
Where
was the only
like,
marquee ad in the general I didn't do. Only one that
yeah.
mattered.
Well, and it's
Um,
like when you have a guy like that, a candidate who's willing to, those are the things you're willing to risk it to make cool ads, and you get featured on Weekend Update on SNL, right?
Yeah, that's the highlight of my campaign is my ad being on SNL. My campaign, my career is my ad being on SNL. That was just a treat, to have Morris trust me like that, and then be able to like pull it off very quickly, like just from a creative director, producer standpoint to make it happen. It's very hard, like because then you got to like how do you do that? Like that's a real shoot. Like that's a commercial shoot. It's high end. It's not like some campy political thing. And like I've been on sets with people like who are like really important people, and they're like, I've never been on a set like this before, and I'm like, damn, how the fuck has that happened?
Yeah.
Like, call me more. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to do this with you more. And the results speak for themselves. I mean, my favorite ad on the Z campaign though isn't even the Rose ad. I mean, it definitely got the most attention because it was also like it launched. I think the day of or the day after his general campaign ad started, which I also produced, like his first of those. I think I ended up doing 8 or 9 for him in the general. Um, it just got so much attention because I think that was also the first episode of SNL for that season of SNL or the current season that we're in, the 51st season. My favorite ad though was actually the basketball ad that we
Hmm.
did. That one, like I leaned in heavy. Like you got to be willing to do some stuff that aren't other people aren't willing to do. Like that one was heavily stylized. I had a very clear vision. Morris gave me a script of like, hey, I kind of want this stuff to happen, and it was just some words. And I was like, great, like he trusts me with the visuals. Always that's what like me and Morris are such a good team because almost always he just gives me a script and lets me run with it to kind of bring it to life in a really cool way. Again, that goes back to like the ideal pairing you need. You need someone on the strategy campaign side that trusts you, who's got creative chops, like Morris, and then you run with it. Like Morris he never is like looking over my shoulder at the concept. He's never asking me like, hey, like, can we do this? Can we do that? Like he is in constructive ways, but it's never like I want to take over ways. And like he's so busy and he's doing so much. It's like, hey, I trust you, just
Yeah.
run with it. It's awesome to work with someone like that because I love this famous ad called the Guinness Surfer ad. It was made by one of my favorite directors, Jonathan Glazer. Um, and it's, I think, the best ad of all time. It came out in '99. It's this black and white thing of a surfer who's like waiting for the perfect wave with his friends. And Guinness has a great advertising line because it takes 90 seconds for a Guinness to be poured into a glass and then have it settle. It takes 90 seconds for you to drink that glass of Guinness. So all of their advertising, a majority of it, is built around the idea of anticipation and waiting. So that's a beautiful little hook to play with. So you have all these great ads, specifically in like the late 90s, early 2000s. It's not as cool anymore, frankly. I just don't know that they're doing great stuff the same way they were. But they have like golden age of advertising really coming out of Guinness, where they're building all these things around ideas of anticipation. And one of them is like waiting for the perfect wave and what that's like when everybody else goes a little too early, but you drop in at the right time. And it was so heavy stylized and get treated the right way. It's black and white. It's probably shot on 16 millimeter film, if I had to guess. It's perfectly just executed, and like there's like waves that turn into like horses, and it's very like masculine and cool
Mm-hmm.
and like tough, and it's like these tight shots and wide shots, and then he lands it and he gets off, and like it's a freeze frame, and it's like here's to waiting. I wanted to make that a version of that ad forever, and I got to apply it to the basketball treatment by like I'm going to shoot this thing in black and white. I'm not going to do it in 16 millimeter film. We have the budget for it, but we shot it on digital, and on a Venice 2, and uh, we just stylized it. And but the thing is like again, this is how greatness happens. That's like my favorite 30-second of ad I've ever made. Greatness happens when you like basically everything falls apart because the volunteers that were supposed to be at the basketball court that day, they didn't show up. So not a single person from the campaign showed up. So I had to go recruit people in the midst. Like I did 30 shoots in 3 months. Like I'm like jumping on a plane that night to go somewhere else. I went and recruited people actually playing basketball in the street in Astoria Park to be in this
No
ad. They were
joke.
already, yeah, they were already sweaty. They were already hot. These are just like people off the street.
Did
And
you
I was
tell them
like,
it was for a Zohran ad?
oh yeah, you have to. You can't surprise someone with
Yeah, I
that,
mean
you
they
know?
were all down.
Yeah, there were some people that said no, but like the people in the ad said yeah.
Yeah, I
And
mean
we
it's
just
great.
that's what makes that ad so cool is that like it's not an actor, it's real basketball players battling it out, you know, in Astoria Park. And Astoria, for people that don't know, is in Queens. Queens is you know, it may compete for Staten Island in this respect, but like it's one of the more conservative boroughs, areas in New York, not Astoria, but that's in the Commie Corridor, but just overall. And so these were like working class dudes that I think almost all of them were Republicans. A couple of them, like two or three of them, were Democrat. One in particular was actually like the only real Democrat. Everybody else was like a Republican or did not vote. Um, and so they still were willing to be in it, and that ad turned out great. And so if you ever want to like even while like the freeze frame at the end of the guy freaking out, like it's all mapped out like the Guinness ad.
Yeah, I did not know that these were just all people you found. I love that. Okay, so you talked earlier about the Lacore ad, and I just want to say I watched that yesterday. I saw you posted it, and like I was freaking in love. Like it was
Yeah.
amazing. It's a one shot. I mean we'll play it here or part of it, but it's a one shot, and like it's exactly what I wanted. I mean I've done probably 30 freaking launch videos since the start of last year, and they're all the same. And I've been waiting for a launch video, and there might be some other ones out there that I haven't seen that is different. And this like perfectly satisfied exactly what I was looking for.
Oh, cool.
And so like just I don't know, talk me through like how this came about. I mean, I was watching the whole thing, and I'm like, there's no way this is just it's all just gonna be one take. There's no they got like cut away to something else, and you didn't, and I loved it. It was perfect.
Yeah, it's hard to keep those things intact. That's why I'm going to give Karen DeFilippi a huge shout out over at Versus Media Group for believing in the bit, you know, and sticking to it because there was a million opportunities to shove some B-roll or some pictures in there, but she kept it together. I think, look, you know, again, I just like I love a strong campaign person on a campaign, a strategist who's gonna like they were like, hey, and her team and Jaleesa there is like her account too, who were just like, hey, you know, we got this person in South Carolina. I used to live in South Carolina. Can you know, do you want to do this? And I'm like, yeah, I'd really like to write some because I've been writing in a lot of these ads since I started Workers. A majority of them are directing, producing, creative directing. I've written some stuff, but like I miss writing. That's where I came up. And it's also like when you write, that's when you get to do the concepting, lock in the thing, and you see it through. And so I've been sitting on some ideas. One of them was when the Brutalist movie came out, horizontal titles moving across. I saw the title treatment come out on the trailer, and first time I saw that was in November of 2024, and I fell in love. And I'm like, I'm doing this on a political ad one day. I sent it to someone I was working with at the time, and they were like, yeah, maybe. And, I mean, like that was just one of the like if we weren't gonna be able to do that, that was just gonna be a killer for me. And then I love this old Nike running ad that I've tried to knock off before. A friend of mine, Matt. it had just had recently reminded me about it. But I had tried to knock that ad off actually for a launch video in it's called the Fat Kid Running Ad, like improperly. I don't know. It's like Nike running ad. It's like a kid running alone. But if you type in Nike Fat Kid Running, it's about greatness and how anyone can achieve greatness. And it's just a one shot of a kid running up a road. He's a heavier set kid, but he's training. And it's not that greatness is given to select few. It can be with anybody. It's within if you just choose to accept it and push yourself. Um, it's a beautiful one shot. I wanted to take that with the brutalist title sequence, and I've been meaning to finally land both those things. It just came to be that it made the most sense for Nancy because Nancy was a 3-star admiral that was removed from her post without cause of the chief of the Navy Reserve by the Trump administration when they wiped out what they called DEI hires. There's no beating around the bush there. That's what it was. It was just it was a hack job. It was not right after 35 years of service, impeccable service in our country to our country. And I wanted to show her as someone who's like a tough person. This is when you need to understand creative and message, like, and how to make that pop. I wanted to show her as a tough person with grit who was like determined in a very, I'll call it restrained way. Because a lot of military folks are such where they are country first. They're not heavy emotive. They're not like they're mission oriented. They're very when you're dealing with a soldier, I mean, or a sailor, like there's a certain way about them. She might very much had that way. It's very honorable. And we wanted a concept that matched that. So I thought, okay, cool. Let's get her up at 4 in the morning. We woke up at 4:20 in the morning and we started filming at like 6:30 or 7. Call was at 6:30 for her, but we were there at 5. And let's get blue hour. So someone alone, early morning, dark, beautiful, cinematic, in a very open road with a lot of space. I drove down 30 different roads to find the road to film that ad.
Yeah.
You have to find the, you just don't show up somewhere, right? And so it also matched the low country. We wanted to set her in a place that connected to the low country, South Carolina. South Carolina District 1 is where that is. That stretch of road, it's an area called the Washout where a lot of surfers go on Folly Beach out there in South Carolina. I lived there for 2 years during COVID and I'm originally from South Carolina. So I kind of knew where to go to find these kind of things and went out there and did the work, did the scout, have her grind and then never cut away from it because like I kind of wanted to like remake the hokey political that's why I'm running ad, like like everyone has seen a bad that's why I'm running ad with a candidate running. I think no candidate or someone should ever make an ad like that, but if you make a running ad that is not about running for Congress but make it really good, well that's super cool. And then so how to make it interesting in a bold way of like having someone just run straight to show the grit and determination. It's like a show don't tell, rule number 1 of advertising. Put interesting titles that run across the side,
Yeah.
a la brutalist titles, and there you go.
And it's doing numbers too.
How do you mean?
Like,
It's getting.
Yeah, doesn't it have like 1 million views on Twitter?
Yeah, I woke up this morning. I love checking. It had what's it at now? It was at 1.2, or it was at
1.3.
There you go. It's at 1.3. It's starting to slow down. So yeah, it's not. It's really rare for. It's hard for political launch video to get over 1 million views now. It's just not that cool anymore.
Yeah,
like everyone's seen everything.
This is different. And okay, how many takes did she have to do? Running.
So the footage I looked at it that day, it was a combined 35 minutes of her running. So I don't know how many takes it was.
Did you have to have her start over, or did you just keep going on one road?
I found a road that would allow for about 7 minutes of running. And so we would start at one end and run essentially 7 minutes. It was breaking down to like 5.5 because we would get to a place where a car would get in the way.
Yeah.
I was like, that blow. Okay, the shot's blown. I don't have a 2 minutes cut going in if we keep driving. So we need to turn around and head back. We special rigged the back of a car. Again, look, greatness happens in teams. It is not some single person calling the shots. Like that's crazy and stupid. Huge shout out to Lorenzo Pache, my DP on that, who like found a way to and the whole AC team and the grip team, like everyone, to make that possible to find the right gear. And my head of production, Sophia Harvey, amazing, just the best, who found the right gear and custom fitted the back of this van to not just, we didn't have you just don't throw a camera in the back of the van. If you look at it, it's extremely smooth, so we had to build a custom platform, put it on I think a Ronin R2. I defer to someone in the cam team to give the right stabilizer on what we use there, but a stabilizer of sorts, kind of not an easy, not a gimbal of sorts, that gets you a steady shot. And then we had to put a stabilizer plate underneath it, and then we had to do some other things, to make it not rock. I don't want to blow the science behind it. So, or like the secret sauce, but it took a lot of work. But again, it's the team that made it happen. It's just the team, and like you can't get anywhere in this business without a good team who's got all the stuff to make it happen.
Did you feel like did you have to fight a lot just to keep it a single take to not cut B-roll or photos or anything in there?
Um,
Or was everybody
I
pretty
can't.
much on board?
No, so I don't handle the campaign side, so I can't speak directly to like how much pressure there was. I do know there was pressure, and not from anyone in particular, just like from different people. Like, hey, because everyone has an idea of what a political ad should look like, and that ain't it, right? And so, I like a lot of people bringing it up. Hey, can we get a picture in here? Hey, what about this? And it just like it was very. And Karen, again, huge shout out to Karen at Versus Media Group for seeing this through. She is a badass who will like make greatness happen. She understood, and we would talk about it like, hey, hey, maybe this person's saying this, maybe this person's saying that, like, what do I say, like, what do you really believe, what do you think, like, talk this through with me. And we came to the same conclusion, and I'm so thankful to her. It's like you destroy the whole thing
Yeah,
by
you
it,
add one
but
little thing in there and it's
it's
not what
done.
it's supposed to be. Yeah.
It's not bold.
Yeah.
And if you want this thing to get attention, if you want it to pop, it needs to be bold. She understood that, believed it to her core, and I don't know all the stuff she had to do to get it through, but like she got it through.
Yeah. Like I said, I was absolutely like just enraptured by it. It was I'm so glad that you just posted it and we could talk about it because yeah, I
Yeah.
thought it was great.
I consider it my best work. And like I think it's the thing that like I'm really just thankful to be a part of great teams that can make this stuff happen. Like it's beautiful, and it's so hard to make something beautiful in politics. It just is. Like it just is.
Okay, last question. So you have, an unlimited reasonable political budget. You can do any
Oh yeah.
candidate, any senator, it could be presidential campaign, whatever. You can make your dream ad that you've like always wanted to make and the candidate can't say no. Do you have any ideas?
And yeah, it just sucks because I just did all that. It's just like I hate to say it, like the Nancy ad is a huge one. I always wanted to combine the brutalist ad with the running ad, and with I mean with the basketball ad, I always wanted to make the Guinness Surfer ad. So like those are the big things I've been yearning to make for the past couple years. And why you should start your own company was in the first few months of starting my own company, I got to make the ads I could
Hmm.
never make anywhere else that I always wanted to make. So that answers the question on why I left. Um, like I'll tell you the style that I'm leaning it towards. Instead of a specific vision, what I really love doing are simple, cinematic, beautiful things that are like one takes, that bring you into a scene that let you exist in this special place and have VO over them. They're very similar to the basketball ad. If I had to start like, what's my house style? I think my body work shows we can do all the stuff. But like my favorite stuff to do when given the full control is to find like scenes. And so there's actually this, I'll say the answer to this more concretely. There's a set of scenes. um I don't want anybody to take my idea, but there's a set of scene. Well, I'm probably doing it in a few weeks with Graham Plattner. I'm also doing all Graham stuff. um so there's a really good set of advertising done by Errol Morris, which is like one of the best documentarians of all time ever to do it. He did commercial work, still does, I think, but he did a lot of commercial work in the 90s and early 2000s. The 90s were just an awesome time for advertising and for film, by the way. Like 35 millimeter peak, that's when everything was at its best, um, right before digital. So he did this series of ads for Miller High Life, and they zone in on someone like doing a thing. Like there's this one where there's this guy who's biking in a snowstorm somewhere, obviously where it's cold, and he's got a bunch of Miller High Lifes with him in like a crate, and he's just biking, and the camera's just on him biking the whole time. And there's a VO that runs over it that's like, this guy will do this or that guy will do this. He'll do all these things, and that's what it takes. And la 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 la. But he's living the high life. And he does another vignette meaning story in this sense, where there's another one. There's like 30 of these, it's crazy number, um, where he zeroes in on like a craftsman, like working with his hands, and like he understands what a hard day's work is. He does this, he does that, and he's just talking about this guy's day. And then he cuts, at the end of the day, it's Miller time, it's the high life, whatever. I haven't watched those in over a year, but like I remember them enough to know the point, and they're saved in my creative files. And what I want to do is create vignettes of people doing actions like that. You'll see this hopefully on the Grand Platinum campaign, where people are like working and they're doing their job, and they're like, it's very Maine centric, so it's like lobster fishing, like people doing lobster stuff and pulling up lobsters, and just and you film them for like a day, and you just show them working. They don't ever talk, but the VO, it can be Graham or not VO, comes in and just starts talking about their hard work and what they do all day and like how bad it is and tough it is to make it, affordability. You pull in the messages here of affordability, hard days work, working families, all these types of things. It sets the scene for it. And then you tie the message arc to, and Graham Plattner is the only person that understands what these people are going for, and that's who he's fighting for. That's why the only thing you're seeing on this ad is this lobster fisherman or whatever. They're, la 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 la
Yeah,
la. I'm going
make
to
it about
butcher
the
that
people,
because
not
I'm
about the candidate, right?
yes. And then like the problem with getting that through the political industrial complex is everything else we always fight. You're not gonna be able to see the candidate. We need to see the da, 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 da. And I'm like, okay, cool. I buy all that because I managed 13 races. I was a strategist for years. I get what your problem is. That's fine. We don't have to make everything about this. But in the world we live in where everything's so bifurcated, again, to the like fundamentals of what we talked about at the beginning of the call, where like you're not advertising to a standing army, you're advertising to a moving parade, and you need your messaging to all line up in like the 18 different billion places you hit them at one time. You need to break through. So you put these ads in your ad sequence and put them at the top level where you got your basic political message ads, blah, blah, blah. They're running here, taking up 1,000 to 2,000 points. Everybody does it differently. You're running these ads that are like 1,200 points, 1,200 points. And these are the sequence. Up here, have a high level where you're just dropping creative ads, where you put them on live sports or you put them on just primetime television within your ad pod
Yeah.
cycle. So you've got like, yeah, if like in every hour of programming, you've got like, yeah, three of these ads can be your normal, but then throw in the main different one. That way you're kind of keeping it fresh. You're not just burning in two or three ads. Like people think they do that. They really don't. Like I haven't actually come across that where people make like, and I've tried and I have made like the best ad I can never talk about because I've been told never to talk about it. I can it's so dope. It never saw the light of day. I think it's like, I did a Seinfeld knockoff for the Gallego campaign that was like perfectly executed. Um, like I can't show it or anything. I can
Yeah.
talk about it.
I mean, there's
Uh,
there's rules of political campaign or political ads, and when you know how to break those rules is when you get good ads, good creative
yes,
ads.
absolutely. And that's the secret sauce of anything. And like that's where greatness lives. It is like knowing the rules well enough to break them and then having the confidence in the team to pull it. It's so difficult. That's why you see really because the industrial complex. That's why you see only two or three ads a year that really like move you.
Yeah, that
You know?
captures the national attention, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then all right, we got to stop because
No,
I'll
no,
keep talking.
you're good. You can keep talking if you want. I was going to give you an opportunity to plug your company and you own your own business, and you know why if anybody's listening looking for a production company or whatever, this is your
Uh,
elevator speech.
no, I don't have one. I think look, if you like the
If what
stuff I
you've said
make with
enough hasn't been enough
yeah,
already.
like like obviously I'm just like some guy talking a lot and that could be annoying. I think that look, if you want I think what sets our work apart at Workers, and like my brand and what we're doing differently is I really, like it's impossible to say something about yourself without sounding a little egotistical. I've never been able to strike that balance. Well, I really think when it comes to understanding strategy and creative and knowing how to merge them both at a really high level, I really feel like I do that very well. And without this bluster, just 13 managed 13 campaigns, was a strategist for years in some of the biggest races in the country. I think over the last 4 years, when you consider Gallego, Zohran, Fetterman, Josh Riley, the biggest congressional race at that time, and that I won I do think these little awards matter a little bit in the sense of um, my work on a state house race in the 22 cycle got recognized as the best overall work for the entire Democratic Party in 2022, beating Fetterman as like the best overall Democratic campaign at the polls. Like it was the number one ad you can win. And in 24, I came in second with the Josh Riley stuff. And so, like, I just have been at a really high level consistently for a very long time now on the biggest races in the country. And even things that aren't big, I find a way to make them feel big. So, if you want that kind of work in a cinematic sense, it's going to land on message and like be highly creative, tasteful, most importantly, and on time with not a lot of drama, like call me.
Yeah, I mean, I think your work speaks for itself. So,
Yeah,
and the
like just
clients you
throw the
work
ads
with.
up there. Yeah.
Devin, appreciate you. Thank you for coming on. Workers Productions. If you need the best in the biz, reach out to them.
You guys are the best. Thank you so much, Garrett.
Thanks, Devin.
Bye.
That's it for this episode of the Creative Caucus. Huge thanks to Devin Gosnell for sharing his experience, his process, and his perspective. If you enjoyed this conversation, please subscribe to the Creative Caucus for more deep dives with the strategists, editors, directors, producers, writers, designers, and all the creatives that go into shaping this work behind the scenes. And also follow us on Instagram, Blue Sky, TikTok, at the Creative Caucus for more content. And if you know anyone in the political creative world that you think I should talk to, or if you have a favorite political ad that you'd like me to take a look at, send them my way. I'm Garret Brubaker. Until next time, keep the vibes up, because that's what people vote on.